Hi, my name is Dominique Louis and I'm one of the senior developers at Wilderness Labs, and today we're going to look at debugging with Visual Studio Code. So first off, we want to make sure that we've got the latest Meadow CLI installed, so let's just check the version. Obviously in my case I have it installed and I'm using the latest, but if you need to update to the latest version, or you're installing for the first time, you might need to do a .NET tool install, or if you're running an old version, you'll need to do a .NET tool update as per this command line here. And as you can see, in this case it will just reinstall what I have, but for you it might update to the latest version. After that, we will then need to make sure that we download the latest OS that we're going to install onto our Meadow device. So again, some commands I prepared earlier. So if we just do Meadow download OS, you'll see the following. And in my case, I've already got 0.9.8.1 installed. But for you, it should download the latest OS. Next, we want to make sure that our Meadow is in bootloader mode. So let's have a look here. Let's make sure that I can see myself. So in this case, you've got your Meadow device. Make sure you're pressing down the boot button as you plug it in. You'll notice there was a small flash there, or maybe not. Let's try that again. Press down the boot mode, and as you plug it in, there's a small flash as you plug it in. That means the Meadow is now in bootloader mode. We'll then need to flash the OS onto the device. So for that, on the command line, we type in Meadow flash OS, press enter, and that will proceed. As you can see there, you get a progress bar of as it's raising, and shortly afterwards, as it's downloading to the device. There are various steps, so we'll fast forward this bit till we get to the end. So as you can see, it is now complete. We can confirm that this is all correct by doing a list ports, Meadow list ports, which should list the device that we've just flashed. We can then tell Meadow that we want to use that. And when we do, this is particularly useful if you have several devices and you want to get information on a specific one. Nice info. Let's do a Meadow device info to just make sure we've got everything that we expect, which is in this case all the information that you see here. Now let's switch to Visual Studio Code and proceed with that. So now in Visual Studio, we need to install the Meadow extension. So we go to the, let's just be sure that we go to the extensions, which is over here. And then we do a search for Meadow, and you should see VSCode tools for Meadow. Select that, install it. And now, the extension is installed. So now that we've restarted Visual Studio Code, you'll see that we now have a Meadow device option here. So typically you may want to create a new project via the command line, and as per the instructions here, in a terminal window, you would run .NET new install Wilderness Labs Meadow template, and then you would then do a .NET new. For the purpose of this demo, I've loaded up the Blinky demo, which, as you can see from the tooltip, is in the Meadow.Core.Samples repo under Wilderness Labs, so you can find it there. Now, in order for us to be able to debug, we will need to create a launch profile. So we do that by going to Run and Debug. As you can see here, there's a Create Launch JSON file option. We create that. The Meadow debug option is there. This will not appear if you don't have the Meadow extension installed. Click on that, and this has all the information required for us to launch the app and build it and begin deploying, so that when we click on deploy, we're then prompted to connect to the device that we have attached, and it will then attempt to deploy. Now, as you can see in the debug console, there are two colored messages. In this case, the yellow messages are the ones that are being generated on the IDE side, and the blue messages are the messages that we sent from the Meadow side. So you can tell which messages are being generated within the IDE and which ones are actually coming from the device itself. So this will take a little bit of time as it sends all the required information over and before debugging starts. We see the Visual Studio is now connected, and we should hit this breakpoint shortly. There we go. And once you've hit the breakpoint, you can then obviously step over, as well as mouse over to get information. And let's stick another breakpoint inside run. And at the top here of the while loop. And let's proceed. As you can see, we're now straight into the run. The run message now appears as coming from the Meadow, which it is. Let's go into the cycle. And it will cycle through various colors with duration. And should eventually hit the purple, which it does. And as you can see, this allows you to then check various values. And we're now cycling the colors, as you can see. And that's how you debug with Visual Studio Code. Thank you, and send us some feedback. Bye.